Welcome back to Northwestern Outdoors Radio. I'm glad you're back. We're going to talk a little bit of hiking today, and we're going to talk specifically about hiking in the Alpine Lakes Wilderness of Washington State. The person we're talking to is Nathan Barnes. He and his brother Jeremy have got a brand new book, Alpine Lakes Wilderness, the complete hiking guide. Nathan, great to have you on the air.
Oh, thanks so much.
First off, congratulations. It's a beautiful book. Looks like it's going to be very handy as a reference. Tell our listeners a little bit about it.
Oh, yeah. It turns out it's a gorgeous book. First off, just picking it up, you'll really engage with some amazing pictures that my brother has spent a lot of time sort of putting together and making these hikes kind of pop out to life. But, it's 100 hikes across a 400,000 acre wilderness area. And even though every entry has some extensions to it, so it's not just 100 hikes, there's, more trails beyond. You can expand it out. A couple of features about it that might be a little different than most hiking guides. I'm a history buff, so I like to insert sort of historical background for hikes, just so that hikers can engage with trails a little bit more, and also because I find it very interesting.
Right.
We also did a sort of an extended backpack section. So there's backpacks and day hikes throughout the book, but there's a section of about 8 hikes in which we give a multi-day itinerary that you can sort of, if you are looking to do it, you can mix and match between those and create sort of your own itineraries through the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. The other thing that I'm kind of excited about that is a little bit unique about the guide is we put a place name index in the back. So if you're looking at your backpacking map or you're looking at your Green Trails map and you want to get on the trail and you catch a place name catches your eye, you can flip to the back of this glossary and kind of get a background on that place name, which I think is just a fun way to sort of get excited about a trail.
Oh, yeah. And I love how it's laid out by the different regions or sections of the wilderness, too. And speaking of history, and speaking of the Alpine Lakes Wilderness, let's talk a little bit about it for our listeners who aren't as aware of it as you and I are. How big is it? When was it designated as a wilderness? And if you know, how many visitors does it get a year?
Sure. So, like I said, it's just shy of 400,000 acres. It was expanded in 2014 to get up to there, but it was originally designated in 1976. And part of the Wilderness Act, there's great stories behind all the efforts that it took to preserve sort of the crown jewel of the Cascades in Washington State. So it is one of the premier places. How it got designated is really, the best story about it, and it ties back to the mountaineers who published our book, is, former Washington Governor Dan Evans in 1976 flew out to Washington, D.C. when President Ford was debating on whether or not to sign on the dotted line to create the wilderness. And he brought with him a photo book that was put together by the mountaineers and sat down with the president for what was supposed to be a 15-minute meeting that spiraled into a 45-minute meeting as he flipped through the book and really was enchanted and taken by the beauty of the Alpine Lakes Wilderness. And after he saw that book, that's when he signed it into law. And it was created, which was fantastic. And over the years now, it's become so incredibly popular. The traffic to it, it's about 150,000 people a year visit this area. Some sections are so popular that they have very tight permit requirements that require a lottery, et cetera, et cetera. But very popular, and they're doing a great job of trying to throttle the visitors so it doesn't get overwhelmed.
It's funny you mentioned that. Probably the most popular place to hike would be the enchantments, and it's absolutely beautiful. There are some that are saying that the enchantments are literally being loved to death by hikers. I think they actually changed the permit system. You do have to have a permit if you want to stay overnight, to a lottery, like you said, that wasn't a mail-in anymore, but it was online. And a couple of years ago, they received like 18,000 applications for overnight permits. So it's just insane.
Yep. And what's insane about that is the number of permits available is about 700.
Right. So
they were, the last 2 years, it's been almost 18,000. Yeah, it's crazy.
But on the other hand, there are plenty of places in the wilderness that don't get a whole lot of traffic. I was hiking up Chewacum Creek just the other day. I was the only person at that trailhead or on that trail at all. Ingalls Creek might be kind of popular with day hikers, but the further you go, the less people you're going to see.
Exactly.
I mean, there's plenty of places to spread out in the wilderness. And if everyone wants to go to the enchantments, that's fine by me. I'll take all the other places you can explore. And you do a great job with that. You don't need the permits that those other places do. It's just a self-permit process.
Yeah, you go to the trailhead and you fill out a day use permit, which is, the Forest Service really encourages people to do so they can get an idea of who's using what trail and what the traffic is like, and it helps them allocate resources better. So I know there's some people, I don't want to fill this thing out, and it's actually very helpful to do it so that we can show where people are using the wilderness so that more money and more support can go to those areas. So the places you're listing, amazing, and it has always been a focus of ours to try and spread out, just to try and highlight some different trails. There's a lot of space out here, and there are places that feel almost as good as the Enchantment, and they're not being loved to death, which is, like you said, it's a major concern. So you'll find there's a hike finder in the book, and we tell you how much traffic is on a trail, and we go light, moderate, heavy with traffic. And the ones that are lighter, those are a surefire way that you're going to find not a lot of people on that trail. And you match that up to a trail description or where you want to go, and you're off and running.
Absolutely. Now, you and your brother, I'm assuming you hiked all 100 trails that you've got described here?
Yeah, I mean, there's a handful in which both of us weren't on the trail, but he and I put our feet on all the trail there.
Gotcha.
There's a tiny we couldn't do with scheduling that we couldn't do at the same time.
No, I understand completely. But the fact that you have hiked so much of this wilderness, really impressive to me, because you clearly know it like the back of your hand. And with that in mind, what's a great trail for folks that's not too hard, that's not too crowded, that would be a really good introduction to the Alpine Lakes Wilderness?
One place, if you haven't been into the Enchantments area, if you haven't been to just up to Kolchak Lake, it's a stunning and engaging lake. It has a great color from all the glacial silt that's coming down. It does get a little bit more traffic because it's in the Enchantments and it's popular. But if you're trying to get a taste of what all of the Alpine Lakes Wilderness is like without being really, really hard, but still engaging enough to work up a sweat, that's a great start. If you're looking for not the whole Enchantments experience, going out up towards over Cathedral Rock and Cathedral Pass, down to Deep Lake, or even out to Peggy's Pond, which is just kind of off the Pacific Crest Trail on your way to Deep Lake. Both of those have much less traffic. They're set in really stunning landscapes with Cathedral Rock just sort of rising like this granite monolith over everything. And you get that mixture of pine forest, rocky alpine lakes, and craggy peaks, and it's you're sort of getting all the ingredients that is the Alpine Lakes Wilderness.
Well, Nathan, I'll tell you what, I want to stop this interview because I really want to just take your book, pick out a hike, and go hiking right now, just based on what you're telling me. So we're going to do that. Folks, let me tell you where you can buy this book. It is brand new. It's Alpine Lakes Wilderness, the complete hiking guide by Nathan Barnes and Jeremy Barnes. Couple places to get it. Number one is their website, hikingwithmybrother.com, or you can go to mountaineers.org. The Mountaineers are the ones that are publishing this book. Or, as always, you can go to amazon.com. That's a great place to get it too. The book again, Alpine Lakes Wilderness, the complete hiking guide. Leafing through the pages, it does live up to its name. I think you're going to really enjoy it. So get it and explore some of this beautiful country in central Washington. Nathan, thanks for sharing this with us today on Northwestern Outdoors Radio.
Thanks so much for giving me the opportunity.